Welcome, everyone. Finding your spiritual refuge. There's a lot going on these days. It's pretty overwhelming. Right now, people are panicked and overly busy and are scrambling to find all kinds of things to feel safer, feel better. Whether they're looking for a political outcome and a candidate that will make them feel safe, or a substance, or some idea of spiritual purpose. People are in a deep state of craving and anxiety, which makes today's topic even more urgent. I've been discussing this a lot in the last couple of years, of the urgency of the spiritual path, and there's a video on that topic that you're all welcome to watch. And I will touch on that again, that there's a real urgency to what we're doing, but I will take a step back to define what I mean by spirituality and what this urgency means to us. Welcome, everyone. I'm Jim Tolles. I'm a spiritual teacher. I blog at spiritualawakeningprocess.com, and of course, I'm doing videos here. I invite you to check out some of my offerings on my blog around classes, community gatherings, and one-time sessions or regular sessions that I offer. And you can sign up to my free newsletter if you're interested in more information in general. And that's down in the description below. What is the spiritual path? The spiritual path that I'm talking about, the path to freedom, liberation, enlightenment, whatever term we want to use there. It's about letting go of attachments and being where we are. Being with life without resistance. Without resistance, but not without agency, not without ability to engage. In fact, the less ego we have, the fewer attachments we have that are getting in the way of seeing what is, the better able we are to engage with the world. That's the urgency. The urgency to engage with what's actually happening and not what we want to have happen, not what we believe to be happening, but what is actually happening. For example, in the United States, that somewhere around 15 or 16 million people have been diagnosed with heart disease. That is a reality, and we know most of the causes are lifestyle. And yet we live in such an illusion and a haze that we're like, no, our lifestyle is fine, which is making people desperate for pharmaceuticals and other different things to try and fix the thing caused by the lifestyle problem. If you resolve the root cause, you don't need the pharmaceuticals. People forget that when they go off on rants about big pharma and whatever. And organizations are responsible for what they do, and we're responsible for what we do. And it's a lot right now of different things coming at us, different things breaking down physiologically, mentally. We're talking about the mental health crisis a lot now, as if it's a new thing. It's not. It's just a sign of all the other different parts of our bodies and our beings that have broken down. We need to come back to reality. But it can be tough. It can be tough with all this other noise going on and the desire to seek some sort of refuge. It's very understandable. Now, a refuge is not an escape. A refuge is a place that you go to help yourself have time and space to figure things out. A refuge is not an escape. It's not a giving up on the world or society, more specifically. The world is fine, by the way. The world goes through mass extinctions and changes all the time. It's been around for a few billion years, probably be around for a few billion more. But our society is causing so much suffering. And there's two main ways I want to talk about your spiritual refuge. I want you to think about it on the internal side, which will always be with you, And the external as that temporary space that we often go to take time for ourselves, to take time, extended time to figure things out, particularly for those of you who are resolving serious traumas. That can take time, and having that space where you can work that out is important. In the external world, we're often looking for kind people who can kind of take us in and be caretakers. Sometimes that can be the family, sometimes it shouldn't be. The people who raise you are a gold mine of inner work. That's not really so much a refuge, that's going into the gold mine with your pickaxe and getting to work. And the refuge, there should be work, but that's usually more than people are ready for initially. That's usually a place that works best in short bursts, not a long-term stay. And of course, if that was a traumatizing situation, that's a terrible idea, because now you're likely re-traumatizing yourself because your subconscious ego is kicking into the old programs that it played out with people during that time of your life. And that can be not just re-traumatizing, but it can break you down. So there are different places where you can retreat for long-term times, where you can potentially volunteer or work trade. And these are all things you can search for online, but I just want you to know that they exist. Obviously, if you're able to make enough money, or one good thing about remote working, and there's a lot of bad things about remote working, which I'll probably warn people more about in continuing videos because of how it separates us and breaks down community. The one good thing is if you can do that and make a lot of money and be off on your own or in a small community, that's another way to do it. To step out of usually urban areas, which are very intense, to minimize the amount of media and stimulation you're getting. New experiences, we can only take on so much, and new information, we can only take on so much. We have to process it, otherwise it becomes overwhelming. And right now our culture is extremely burned out, and we're just throwing more information and stimulation at ourselves, which is making things harder to even know what's going on inside. There's going to be a detox phase being in your refuge. And your intention is to do the work, to be clear enough, to be able to figure out what level of stepping into modern society again you want to do. You could do it with a spiritual community or not. If you're looking at spiritual communities, be very careful. Not for usually the glorified grotesqueries that get shared around, crime and rape or whatever that gets projected onto communities like that and communes and all that sort of stuff. But more around the sense that oftentimes these become places where lots of other people are trying to escape. If you're going to a spiritual refuge, you are not an escapist, but other people are. So doing your due diligence to understand different communities that you might consider joining is an important thing. So those are a few guidelines. The volunteering, remote working, if you can make a fair amount of money, right, that frees you up to go to any place that basically has an internet. The work trade situations, those exist out there. Do your due diligence with any communities that are going that you want to join if you're not going to be on your own. And I definitely encourage a certain amount of communal connection. It is important to have people around us to help us during these internal phases that we go through. But the internal refuge that I really want to emphasize is that space of awareness. This you can practice now. This you should practice now and throughout your day of coming back to awareness. Coming back to awareness is just coming back to the observer. It's not being peaceful. However, awareness does not fuel the noise inside you. If the noise inside you is not fueled, it does start to quiet. There will also be work at times to unlearn your attachments, to restarting the noise, to continuing it, to believing it, to giving more energy to the thoughts, the emotions, and the sensations. We do all three. It's not just quieting our minds. Awareness is your eternal refuge. Come back to awareness. And you breathe because we have to breathe. And that too creates a sense of physiological calm. But don't attach the physiological calm with the idea of this internal refuge. Again, the external refuge is a place to go to break down intentionally so you can break through. The internal refuge is always with you. It's a thing you can practice all the time, and it will really, really guide and save you at times from the noise that's going on around you and that stimulates more of it inside you. So you already have the first and the most important refuge. If you decide to find the second, be mindful and strategic. You can be optimistic, but don't be idealistic. And hopefully the external one can give you that space to more fully come through your process, to be clear about what is and to let go of ego, to be free. And then we can talk more about what you do when you're free and how you have to reimagine living in this world. If you have questions for me, feel free to reach out via my newsletter, leave a comment, or share this video with others, and that's appreciated. Thanks, everybody.